Hello, hello. Welcome to RamGoatAstrology. I'm Laura Lee.
And I'm Helena. Hello.
Hello, Helena. We've been chatting for a little while before we
Yeah.
recorded here today. We had a plan, and now we're deviating from the plan.
Yeah. I feel like I don't know, must be something in the sky. Both
Well,
of us feel very like
Mercury is traveling through Pisces right now, so I feel
yeah,
like we should honor that because that's a
it's
thing.
true. It's true. We should let ourselves be not so understandable maybe in this
Right?
episode then.
Keep it very nebulous.
So if you don't understand us, then that's just proof that Mercury in Pisces and is doing its thing.
We've got Mars transiting through Gemini, Mercury transiting through Pisces, the Sun through Pisces, Neptune through Pisces. My natal Mercury is in Pisces with Neptune sitting on top of it. So I feel like I'm surprised anybody understands me, really.
I was surprised that we're talking.
Right?
Pisces is not so much for talking, it's more for feeling.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And art. And I just showed you all the art I've been doing.
Yeah.
My son and I
Yeah.
are creating a children's book together. He's illustrating the pictures and I'm then watercoloring them in. And then, yeah, we're writing this book together and we're publishing it soon.
And
Hopefully
it looks so
on,
amazing.
it looks good, doesn't it?
Yes.
But I'm feeling that pull to just like check out and do art. Like that's all I want to do is just put on a movie and watch and just do art. And my daughter actually wanted to watch Fantasia, which is such a Pisces movie. It's such a Pisces, it's music with abstract art set to the music. Like if that's not Pisces, I don't know what that is. So we got to just be flexible right now because that's the energy we're rocking. We were going to talk about Pluto. We can still do that.
Yeah, we were going to talk because something big is happening with Pluto. Pluto's changing signs. Let's try and talk about it. We'll try.
Yeah, we will. We will talk. Yeah. Pluto's changing signs since the first time since like 2013 or 2008, I think it was when I looked it up.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. 2008. So it hasn't been there about 15 years or so. Right?
Yeah.
How long it's been? Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. So Pluto's been in Capricorn,
Mm-hmm.
in the sign of Capricorn for all of that time.
Yeah.
And just a reminder of what Pluto is, what kind of energies that are ruled by Pluto. Pluto is the planet of like death, birth, rebirth, like the phoenix rising from the ashes.
I always think of a phoenix. Every time I think of Pluto, my brain immediately goes to this bird that just like combusted and then comes out of the ashes. That's every single time. That's the analogy in my head.
Yeah. So it's all about like really like rebirthing stuff, and like it can be painful, those changes. Because now the energies with Pluto, when we're dealing with that, is we're dealing with the hardest energies that we feel in this life. Like if you're going through a massive depression, if you're losing a loved one, all of those things happening in your life are like scorpionic and Plutonian energies. But you get through them, and then after you got through them, you're stronger, and you've learned so much. And you learn so much by being broken down like that.
Oh, for real. I think that's where humans, I don't want to say only learn, but that's where we learn and actually stick to what we learn, right? Like sometimes we learn things through the happy means and all that, but I feel like the lessons stick harder and are more profound when they're at that like devastation kind of energy, that destruction energy. Pluto's all about the subconscious forces and anything that's kind of hidden below the surface, right? So if you have been suppressing stuff for a while, whether that's with your business or your family or, your needs, that stuff's going to just bubble up. And because we're going from Capricorn, which is structure and foundation, into this intellectual Aquarius air energy. So it's like all the junk we've been shoving in the basement is going to bubble up to the surface and demand to be dealt with and transformed, which can feel scary, right?
Yeah, Pluto is, we were just talking before about, I have an upcoming Pluto opposite Sun transit, and that it's always like when you see Pluto getting closer to anything like that in your chart, it's always a little bit like, oh, let's get prepared, because it's tough, but we all have Pluto somewhere in our chart. So, I mean, we all live with it, but it's an energy that is just, it's not the one that you bring out to a picnic.
No.
You know? It's not.
I love that. No, you don't typically carry Pluto around with you. You usually take Pluto into bed and hide and cry and do that. You know, that's more Pluto energy. It's not, let's go celebrate with him. I mean, it can be after you've weathered the storm, after you've gone through the changes, but not usually during.
No, I feel like I've never done an ayahuasca ceremony, but I feel like what happens in a ceremony like that is very Plutonian. Like, you really face your fears, you face all of the shadow work inside, and you go through it. And I've heard it's really, really hard. I mean, can be hard. But then you come out, and a lot of people go back for another round.
To do more healing. Yeah, that's that kind of transformative energy that the psychedelic community is playing with and experimenting. And it's the energy that's been suppressed for so long. I know over in America here, any kind of LSD or ayahuasca or, you know, psilocybin mushrooms, those have all been really suppressed, very, very suppressed by the government. No observations, no studies have been allowed for years and years and years. Most people who are very interested have to go to other countries to do that. And that is starting to shift. The last couple of months specifically, I've seen more and more articles coming out on it. I've seen more and more people talking about it, especially with PTSD healing. And they'll have one experience and it'll be completely rewiring the brain. And these veterans are suddenly off all of their medications and off of all of their, antidepressants and everything. Well, you can imagine why the pharmaceutical companies have been preventing all of this research and all of this everything, because if you have one experience like that and you get off of 15 different meds, well, that's not good for their bottom dollar at all, because
they're not a customer anymore.
Yep. And they can't patent that plant. They can't patent that energy that comes from that plant. So it's been very interesting. I've seen it with my own journey through aromatherapy. I've been an aromatherapist for about 10 years now, and I have seen the suppression of information, the suppression on what we can say or can't say that plant therapy can do, right? I can't say it can do this, this, and that, even though it can. I have to word it, oh, it supports your immune system. Okay, cool. It does other things too that are way more profound. But like, if I say that out loud, my accounts get shut down. They come after me. Like, I have to be really walk on eggshells kind of thing, because that information has been suppressed, because plants can't be that powerful. Oh my gosh. If plants are that powerful, then how are you going to make money off of your synthetic stuff?
That is so crazy. I used to work in a health food store here in Stockholm, and there's a plant called, is it called Johannes? Is it something called Johanneswort? Johanneswort?
We call it St. John's wort, but
St. John's wort. Yeah, I think that's the one I mean. Johannesört in Swedish, and it helps with depression.
Yes,
and in Sweden, tremendously. And what happened in Sweden was that you were allowed to sell it in health food stores, and so they were selling what's it called when you put alcohol? I think tinctures. They were selling tinctures of that. that is like, that's a pretty strong way to use it. And then all of a sudden, the people, the people who work with like pharmaceuticals notice that it has an effect, so they made it illegal because it works. But at the same time, they're always saying that it's all woo woo wah wah. These things are not working. But now they banned it, so you're not allowed to buy it anymore as a tincture.
Banned it entirely?
No, you can buy it as a tea.
Okay.
But you're not allowed to buy it as a tincture.
Or capsules or something. Okay.
No, not at all. And I'm pretty sure that soon they will patent it, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
And make something.
Yeah, this past year, maybe 2 years ago, there was a publishing company that has been publishing studies and all kinds of information about aromatherapy, dictionaries and just desk references with lots of information. And suddenly they were no longer allowed to publish, and suddenly now the publishing company has out of nowhere just suddenly shut down. They were publishing for over 25 years. And now it happened actually during the pandemic. That's when it happened.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was one of those things where I'm like, holy censorship, Batman, right? Like you're going to just shut the publishing company down because you don't like what they're publishing. Are you kidding me? Like, that's the kind of covert, underhanded crap that's going on. And that's the kind of shit Pluto's not going to deal with pretty soon.
No, because Aquarius is all about like rebellion and the uprising of the people and, doing your own thing. And so Pluto and Aquarius is very much like, let's break all of the rules. Let's break all of the structures.
Yeah. You're going to tell me, no, I can't do this thing. Watch me do it. Right.
Times two.
Times two. Yeah. I might understand that energy quite well.
So
it does represent this ending and beginning concept and this spiritual growth and rebirth. And if that's not what we're seeing right now with the people, I don't know what it is. I mean, even with, you can see it starting in so many different areas. I've seen so many articles about the people in Russia who don't want this war and are rebelling and doing very non-governmental happy things, right? Like they're just doing the people are doing underhanded things to go under their own government, right? Like to get this to stop. Like we don't want this war. We have family in Ukraine or whatever, right? And you're seeing that in so many areas, in so many parts of the world. In Iran, the women are like, no, you're not holding us down. You're not doing this. And in America, it is definitely people's medical freedoms. Abortion is still a huge topic, which, if that's not Pluto energy, subconscious and submerged and death, right? Like that's what abortion is. And that's a huge thing. And of course, the governmental control over all of it and the religious aspect to the reasoning. And Aquarius is not necessarily a big religious sign.
No, it's not. I feel like Capricorn is not like super religious, but Capricorn is very much like, okay, let's choose one leader. Let's listen to the leader and follow the rules. And structure. Here are the rules. Here are the structures. Yeah. And this is totally opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. Where that rebellious nature is going to really come out, and people are going to say, no, we don't like what you're saying. This is not working. No, thanks. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
We're going to do our own thing.
Yeah. And I mean, I can look in many different ways, because not everyone who is going to be rebellious and do their own thing are going to do good things either. Right. So I think you will see a lot of shit happening. A lot of people doing a lot of shit.
Yeah. Where Pluto shows up in your chart, this is where we have to search for truth and deeper meaning, right? So if that's in your, for me, it's in my 6th house, and that's the house of health and well-being and mental, physical, emotional health, being of service. and also small animals, which my husband and I were talking about that. We actually just had to put our dog Dahlia down a couple days ago, and we were going through how many animals we have had in the past 20 years we've been together. And it is actually in May, it will be 20 years since we've only had 2 dogs. We've had 4 or more for the last 20 years. And in that time frame, I fostered and adopted out about 45 dogs. So with our own dogs and with the adoptions and the fosters, we've had well over 55 dogs. And that, man, God, if that's not searching for truth and deeper meaning in my 6th house of small animals, like, I don't know what is, right? But this is where you really dig deep. And for me, I'm always digging deep into health, you know, and the reason why am I not feeling well today? Why is this illness popping up? Why does this person have this rash? I'm constantly going deep into that area. And that's why I am determined, or I've labeled myself an astrological health coach, intuitive. I did health coaching for a decade, but now I really utilize that astrology piece to dig deeper into health. Well, digging deep is what Pluto does. Like that's the jam that it is. Like, yeah, let's go deep. I don't want surface level stuff. So if your Pluto is in, you know, your 4th house of family, there's probably some deep family hurts and traumas there that we have to dig out and uncover and heal. You know, that's where all that stuff comes up. And then where it is transiting in your chart is going to be this activation time frame, I think. Yeah.
So where is it, in what house is it transiting for you?
That's a good question. I have to check now. What's it for you? I have your chart up. Oh, yours is going through your 1st house.
Yeah, and it will be in my 1st house until for my whole life, pretty much.
For the rest of your life.
Yeah, so I had a couple of years ago, it moved into my 1st house from a 12th house where it spent a lot of time. And then my 1st house is so huge, so this is where it will be.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Mine's in the 8th.
Last day.
Mine's right in the middle. Yeah, mine's right in the middle of the 8th house. I'm not sure what I think about that.
All right. You'll be going deep.
Yeah, right. And also that death cycle, death, rebirth, renewal. 8th house also is about other people's money and taxes, inheritances, and making sure like your legal stuff is all set up properly. If you're, you know, like my husband and I are working on rebranding our farm, and we were Lotto's Lazy Acres for the last 10 years. Now his transiting Pluto just went over his MC like a month ago. And so he is having to transform what he is doing and showing up in the world for his career. And so we're really throwing ourselves into our farm and our homestead. And we are actually renaming ourselves the Aquarian Acres. So that's our new
perfect timing,
right? Perfect timing. That's our new name. And it comes right after we have this child who has 6 planets in Aquarius. And we just did our relationship reading on here a couple weeks ago, and our composite chart, there's a bunch of Aquarius stuff. So it really makes a lot of sense. So when we are rebranding, we're really leaning into this Aquarian energy, but at the same time, like I have to make sure and this isn't how my brain normally functions, but I'm making sure we set up all of the legal stuff properly. I actually just created a to-do list a couple days ago. I'm like, we need to make sure we register as the right tax thing, and we have to make sure we have our insurance covered. Like I'm really making sure that legal stuff is taken care of, because if it's not, this is where Pluto will come and like make sure you've dealt with that. And I don't want to learn that lesson the hard way.
No, definitely. I mean, because Pluto moves so slowly. It takes 248 years, I think, to go around the sun, which is a long time. Yeah, and so this is a very generational thing. It's a very global energy that is shifting. But So you can see it a lot in, like you will notice it on the news, in society, but you can also, like we're talking about now, go to your chart and check when Pluto enters Aquarius, because that will be a big energy shift. What house will it be in? And for me, it will still be in my first house, but I will notice that difference also with first house stuff for me. So for me, I will really have to, step out more and be just my unique self even more.
Change how you show up. Yeah.
I will really have to dig deep with that and face some fears probably about showing my true self and taking the lead and not being scared of being different.
Well, we were just talking about that a little bit with our podcast. Like when we're doing this, it feels like we're just chatting with each other.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we have somebody comment and message us and say, oh, I love listening to this. And then we go, oh, whoa, weird, right? Like,
are people listening?
I forget. This sounds so dumb, but I forget people listen.
Yeah. No, it's because we both have, okay, like here's another astrology thing. We both have our moon in the 12th house, which is like hiding your feelings a little bit, very private. And we're private people, and we're talking to each other, so it doesn't feel like, and because what happens is that we're actually being vulnerable and very honest with anyone who would care to listen.
Yeah.
And that's very not us, but it works because we're just looking at each other right now. So.
Right. You're in your apartment. I'm in my studio here. Like we're just being our vulnerable selves. The only difference is I just hit a little button that says record.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. So it does surprise me when people will say things. I just got a message that says, oh, you're listening to your podcast just makes me smile. And it's so entertaining. And I was like, oh, thank you. Like it's so strange to me to think that just randomly, willy-nilly, someone's listening to our voice somewhere in the interwebs.
That is weird.
So strange.
And if any of you listening willy-nilly have any questions about the house that Pluto is entering, or when Pluto enters Aquarius, which house that falls in for you, if you have questions about that, just email us. You can also listen to, I think maybe we talked about it in a previous episode a little bit about Pluto. Maybe it was Pluto in the different signs.
Yeah.
It could be good to listen to that episode anyway. It's called Pluto
just go listen
something.
Again.
Yeah. It's good. We have a couple of like Scorpionic and Plutonian episodes.
Yes, clearly this is intriguing to us because we keep going back to this.
Yeah, I love it. I really do love it. Everything Plutonian.
Yeah, we have one from November 3rd called Death and Rebirth. And then October 27th was Pluto, Uncomfortable but Necessary. So yeah, we've done similar things, but this is coming up soon. When does this transit hit? Is this the 25th of March?
I think is it the 23rd or the 25th? I think it's the 25th. Let's check.
I think so. Let's pull up the ephemeris here. For those of you who don't know, we love educating people on astrology. There is a chart called the ephemeris, EPHEMERIS, ephemeris. And you can look and see when each planet will be at a certain degree using this ephemeris. And it can get a little confusing at times, but it's laid out pretty simply, and you just kind of keep scrolling through and you can check for the next like couple hundred years where the planets will be.
It's crazy. And you can check back. You can check hundreds and hundreds of years back as well.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
It can get way overloaded and overwhelming.
But we have the spring equinox happening on the 20th and 21st, and then this is happening pretty much right after.
Yeah, it's only a few days.
So they're hand in hand, which it feels like it marks an even bigger change. Like it's crazy that they are happening together. Like we're moving into a new season, and we're really moving into a new season with Pluto.
Yeah, it's like super, super intense for all around. So this will happen 0 degree on, this says, so for me, it will be March 24th, Friday, March 24th.
Okay, cool.
And so for some people, it might be 25th, 24th, somewhere in there, depending on where you are in the world. That's so interesting that I've chosen to launch and publish my children's book 3/23/23. And I didn't like look at astrologically at the dates or anything. That sounded like a fun date. And it's so interesting because it's just, 1 or 2 days after the equinox and essentially 24 hours before this huge Plutonian shift into this very intellectual, unique, sort of rebellious sign. And this book is unique, and it's our story of our family and how we do home births and how we raise children. And it is quite rebellious because it doesn't go with the rest of, the birthing world. So it's quite the Aquarian energy that I'm putting out there.
It really is. It really is. So what do you think? We read up a little bit about what happened in the past when Pluto's been in Aquarius. And it doesn't happen so often because Pluto moves so slowly. So the last time that Pluto was in Aquarius was 1778 until 1798. A long time ago.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
And I just keep thinking about all of the rebelliousness that was happening with America and the French and Britain and these big, big powers, and how they were all like, I don't want to listen to you no more. And they just stopped doing what they were doing and did their own thing.
Historians call this period the Age of Revolution. So
doesn't that fit so perfectly? That's exactly what that is. The age of, and then before that it was 15. This one fascinates me. I got to look into this more. It was 1532 to 1553. And in 1527, Henry VIII, the King of England, requested a papal annulment of his marriage to Catherine, and that's when he started to be excommunicated from the Roman Catholic Church and step away. So if that, again, is not this whole gigantic rebellious nature of, I don't want to listen to you and your rules, get out of here, right?
I mean, he was an asshole, but also rebellious.
Don't get me wrong. The guy was not a good guy. However, he certainly embodied that Plutonian Aquarius energy and ran with it, right? Took off with it. So I find that just that piece of information, I don't even know what else was going on in the 1530s, but just that one bit of information makes me go, okay, because that was, again, the catalyst that formed the way we did things for the next 248 years. And then came the rebellious nature of all the colonists who were leaving Scotland and England and all of, right. They had just had the Scottish uprising just before that, with all of like the big wars from between Scotland and England. And they sent a lot of the Scottish prisoners to the colonies. And then they sent a lot of like their people in jail and stuff to the colony. Well, if you send a bunch of people to a land that didn't want to listen to you when they were on the land originally, and now they're in a different land, they're just not going to listen to you. Like literally, I feel like Britain set that up for that rebellious nature. Like, let's ship them all over here and they'll keep listening to us.
Yeah. No, I don't understand. It's so strange. Like their prisons were so full that they felt the need to ship them to like the other side of the world.
Yep. And they still expect them to pay taxes and listen to their rules. That's funny.
Goodness me.
So you've got all these Scottish people who are like already anti listening to Britain, right? And now you've got all these colonists who have been here for a little while. By the 1770s, they've been here for a little while. And then Britain's like, oh, we want more money for this and more money for that. No. No. Goodbye. And now we have America.
Yeah.
Ta-da. so interesting. I do enjoy looking back on the history of the the astrology and how it showed up in the past, especially these big huge planets.
It helps to sort of vision how the future will look, but it's also super hard to see because it's such a different time. And I think that what will happen now this time around, because we're so far into technology world, and Saturn has just made its round in Aquarius and handing the torch over to Pluto, taking over.
Yeah.
And just sort of finishing what Saturn started in Aquarius.
Right? Doesn't it feel like that? Like Saturn came through and is like, excuse me, everybody move. Like, we need some new structure here. And so the pandemic created this situation where we had been forced essentially to go to technology. The technology was there, but we weren't using it at this level. And then we all got mature about it, right? Everybody and their brothers started using Zoom. Even the elderly people that wanted to go to church were zooming it up on church.
Oh yeah. It's so crazy because and see how like even now when we are, you know, it's not the same thing as a few years ago when we were sort of locked in. People are still like, it's changed so much. So much of the behavior that started during the pandemic and during that time is still has stuck. We have taken so many things with us. I mean, so there's a lot of companies, they don't have offices anymore.
No, they don't.
They're like, oh, hang on, we could do without it. Why pay the rent?
Yep. Both my brother and his wife were blessed, I should say, with that. And now they've been able to move essentially 2.5 hours north, closer to family, but they both kept their jobs because they both went remote. So they were benefactors of that situation. And I think my brother just went back down to his office for the first time in 2.5 or 3 years. And it was all remodeled and all renovated. And he's like, but there was nobody in it.
No one's using it.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, the structures were really changed and radically with Saturn in Aquarius. We had to really force ourselves to be visionaries and to use technology. And now Pluto is coming in here to really, really take whatever it is that didn't change during that period of time and bring that up to the surface as well.
Yeah.
I don't know what we will see technology wise, but we will see a lot of huge new things happening within tech, I think.
Oh, for sure. Well, think about just the school children that were kindergarten, first, second, third grade for the last 3 years. And they have been forced to sit and stare at a screen and sort of learn / interact, right? And what that has done to the way their brain develops and how they view learning and education in general, right? Like, that's not the upbringing you and I had.
No,
not at all. I frequently, my husband and I are quite strict actually with our children with technology, and we really do limit it significantly. And my rationality is I lived just fine without it until I was 12 or 13. You'll be fine too, right? Like you'll adapt and you'll be fine. But at the same time, we are using it to homeschool. We are using it to connect with friends who don't live near us. So
you can't escape it. You need to sort of go with the times as well. Because I feel like, I mean, it's that balance. Like I don't really like it. I don't love it, but I feel like I need to keep up, you know?
Exactly. And I do 99% of my work online is through teaching courses that people can purchase, or doing my podcast with you, or doing the astrology readings. Very rarely do I see people in person anymore, which I do like seeing people in person. And at the same time, I'm kind of glad that I don't have to.
Yeah.
So there's that, you know.
You'll choose a Zoom call way before like taking the car to someone's house. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, people are like, oh, can I come to your office? And then I look around and I'm like, No, that I have to clean.
And would you rather sit in your pajamas at home? Yeah.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
technology doesn't have to be just like computer stuff. I mean, I think that we will see a lot of huge things around like farming and all of those things as well. The technology that's being used there, and how we grow food.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. And I'm part of that movement with our farm. We have one tower garden and we plan on getting some more, but they're vertical aquaponic growing units that are all enclosed, all encompassed. And it takes up maybe like a 3 foot by 3 foot space in your corner of your house. We have a tiny house and a lot of people and a lot of animals. And the fact that we have one in our house comfortably, it says a lot. You can have this in a small apartment, but people are going to be very aware of the energy usage and the, electrical usage, which Aquarius rules all of that. And then food for sure is going to be a big one as well. Yeah, I think it's going to get more easily available like it is, right? Like you can get this unit. It's, I think, like $1,000 US, and you pay monthly and boom, you grow your food every month. And look at that. It's just literally, I have fresh lettuce for lunch every day and fresh celery, and it's in my living room. It's so nice. So
That's
nice.
yeah, yeah.
I love
And
it.
I just thought of like I feel like Capricorn is so much about restrictions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so and I feel like we as a society have been very restricted the last couple of years for a long time, like financially, electricity, if we can move outside our houses because of the pandemic,
Yep.
and restricted in so many ways. So it's really interesting to see now what will happen when Pluto will change signs from restrictive Capricorn to rebellious Aquarius.
Well, it's so interesting that you talk about the restriction. In 2008 is when Pluto moved into Capricorn. And I don't know what happened in Sweden, but here there's a massive financial housing market crash and financial crash. It was bad. And people could not sell their homes. They had taken out way more bigger loans than they could afford on their homes. And the construction industry just collapsed. And it was bad. It was really bad. My husband and I were part of it, but not like we were on the outsides of it, and it didn't affect us negatively, but we saw a lot of people that it did affect negatively. And we felt very fortunate that we had not gotten kind of wrapped up into that. So I'm grateful for that. But at the same time, look at the restrictions and how it started, right? It started with massive financial and home housing structural restrictions, and it's ending with a lot of physical body restrictions, according to the government, what you can and cannot do, what you can and cannot inject in yourself. You can't go to school in California or work or daycare unless you inject this substance by Big Pharma. You can't do this unless, you know what I mean? Like it's very, very restrictive in a country that's supposedly free.
Yeah,
But if
land of the free.
you're free, then you can't escape. So, there's that. So I think this shift, in order to change the world, you have to start with yourself. So while this affects us on this global level, you have to look at it in your personal chart and how this is going through your personal chart and what area is going to be affected. Is it going to hit any personal planets for you? That's going to be a big deal. Is it going to square anything or go opposite to anything? Because that's going to light that stuff up and make that a big shift, really, a big shift, that death, rebirth, renewal, Phoenix thing. So for sure, if you've got anything in the fixed signs too, just Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, or Scorpio, expect Pluto to have some impact on those, because it will have some type of conversation with those planets in the next couple of years for sure.
Pluto is an interesting
it is
character.
Yeah. And so many people think of death as a physical death, and death shows up in so many ways, right? I mean, It just, for example, my husband's business, when Pluto went on his MC, it was like all of the clients he was doing construction and handyman work and all kinds of stuff like that. All of his clients just poof. Where'd they go? I don't know. Just gone. We had like,
really?
he had like 8 to 10 people lined up with jobs lined up. And for one reason or another, they just kept like ticking off and falling off. Whether it's this one was money, this one was, I'm going to wait on that until next year. This one is, oh, I'm going to do it myself, or my brother's going to do it. Like every single client he had lined up had a different reason, but they all just poof.
Yeah. And the MC shows sort of where, like, what you will do sort of as a job, pretty much.
Yeah. And he was noticing that when he was doing these jobs, it was affecting him physically quite profoundly. He would come home and he would be way more tired than he's ever been, way more physically exhausted than he's ever been. He would need more recovery days than he used to. And like, if that's not, to me, again, with my Pluto in the house of health, right? I immediately tune into that information that your body is clearly trying to tell you, don't do this anymore, right? Like, this is not working for us. And Capricorn is all about the structure of the human body, the physicality of it. And he needed to shift his career into something that was not going to be so physically draining on him, going up into the attic, pulling wires, going down to the basement, pulling wires, going up into the attic, crawling on the floor, like just hard manual labor stuff. And his body was like, excuse me, no. No. And the energy went with it, and all the clients went with it. And we were like, okay, bye. All right.
Wow.
So that's just one example of how that
like the business died.
It died. So there's the death, right? The business died. Now, if we had not been aware of the astrology of this, and we had been living in the scarcity mindset that where we used to live, like just not too long ago, we would have freaked out. We would have. I know this because we did the first time it went over his MC. So it went over, then it retrograded, then it went over, and now moved past. So we've been through this once before. And the first time we did panic, and we did start like almost grasping at straws, right? And now this time we were like, okay, Pluto is creative or destructive. So it just destroyed. So let's get creative, right? And it forced us to think of new ways to earn income, to shift. Maybe it's time for Laura to do the financial providing, since Saturn just went over her MC at the same time Pluto was hanging on to his MC, right? So maybe we need to shift, and Laura needs to take over and be responsible now. And Philip needs to work on the structure of the family. And so that's what we ended up doing. And it's working really well. And it's still really scary.
Yeah. That's amazing, just to, as a reminder, to think of endings and death. Endings is also, it's the beginning of something else.
Yeah. Yep. Always.
The birth of something new. So
it's an energetic catalyst. Like, okay, that died. So what else is coming, or what else is going to show up?
Yeah. And the energies always want to work with us. Sometimes we just get too much in our heads, and it's hard for us to work with the energies, and we're trying as hard as possible not to. And that's where it can get difficult, as like personal and as a society.
Yeah.
But it's all for the greater good. So we just need to find a way and be creative, like you said. And Pluto does amazing work.
Yeah. Yeah. Angela Cornish is an astrologer, and she said Pluto in Aquarius is set to shake the foundations of our social structure. Now, that's what happened in 2008. The foundations of our social structure got completely shaken up, and it's going to happen again. You just need to be aware of how that might affect you. And Aquarius, again, rebellious and revolutionary. So if you suddenly find that you lose your job or your income stream dies, right? You've got to get into the revolutionary mindset of, okay, what else am I supposed to do? Instead of trying to force the thing that died to work again, right? Like if it's dead, it's dead. You can try to get a defibrillator and start its heart again, but you got to let some stuff go in life. That's kind of part of Earth school. So if that has died, shift. You've got to shift and get creative, because that shaking of the foundations of that social structure does impact us personally, of course. So how's it going to affect you personally, right? If you're in Europe and you're on an energy freeze, or you've got, energy fears and energy crisis, you've got to think about how you're using energy and what are some ways you can be more independent. Maybe you go buy some solar panels and put them on your window. I don't know, right? But get creative, figure it out.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents there.
Yeah. 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 When you look back at Pluto and Capricorn, there's so much you see, like, so much that has been, like through that death rebirth thing about economy, and we changed, like we're so much into like bitcoins, and I mean, was that a thing in 2008? Maybe that was the beginning, because Capricorn rules
now I need to see, when did
banks and stuff,
cryptocurrency start?
Yeah,
I gotta check this out now, because I'm really curious about this. I don't know when cryptocurrency started. Oh, look at that. Shut up. January 2009.
Okay.
Shut up.
We didn't look this up before, and so
we
there
did
you
not.
go.
No, it was first launched in January 2009 by a computer programmer or group of programmers under the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto, whose actual identity has never been verified. My kids and I watched a documentary on cryptocurrency. It was educational and also very hard to follow and understand. I still really don't grasp the concept. And I think that's the main thing with cryptocurrency, is it's hard to grasp the concept.
Yes.
So that's so interesting that it started in January 2009.
When it went into Capricorn, and Capricorn rules like stability, banks, structure.
That's so, like, that's the kind of quote unquote coincidences that we are not looking for, but they just show up, right?
Yeah. Well, so that is an example of how Pluto can go into something in society and completely change it. I mean, I don't know the last time I used physical money.
Oh yeah, cash.
Yeah, oh, that's what it's called, cash.
You don't even know the name. That's so funny. Yeah, cash is, I really like cash because it's tangible and I can feel it, and it's, like, this is what I have, $2.20. I have $40 here. Whereas if I have my little plastic card, I don't know. I don't know what the numbers are in the sky, right? Like, it's irrelevant, but the cash is like, this is the paper you got. So for me, I like cash, but I do use it a lot less. Yeah.
But it's interesting, because I think that in Sweden at least, it's a huge thing with young people, younger and younger, are getting into debt, because there are all of these, they just buy things online, and they choose this thing where you like pay later and pay later and pay later. So they just get ears up in debt, and that's the beginning of their adult life. And that is also that's also very Plutonian. Like, that's so dark. That is so dark. And so it's not always good, you have to learn. But we're just coming out of Pluto and Capricorn, so this will have to be integrated for a lot longer, and we start learning how it works. Even if we can't see the money, we will have to learn, that okay, well, maybe I don't have this much money, maybe I can't use it, even though I don't. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's that subconscious energy again. Pluto is like under the surface. and hidden, right? So if we're talking about money, yeah, absolutely. That's where I think the huge debt issues definitely came into play. The debt with the student loans, the debt with the banks giving out too much money for the homes, for home loans. Yeah, that the debt concept is really a scorpionic concept and really eighth house, really Plutonian for sure. Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. It's intense to really start to really dig deep into that and see, there's so many articles I'm reading right now from astrodynamics.net and Pluto through Capricorn. And it's quite fascinating, actually, because it breaks it down into the historical view and what happened when it was in Sagittarius and what happened, in the 1700s. And then before that with the Ottoman Empire and Russia. And like, as soon as we get off, I'll probably dive into this because this is fascinating to me. So again, the purpose of this is because we need to learn from the past and learn how this might show up in the future. And that's kind of the whole point of history. And I think so many of us do not integrate the lessons of history and then just keep repeating them. And for my future thinking mind, that seems so dumb. Like, I don't have time to repeat mistakes that we've already made. I don't have time for that.
No.
Too much on my to-do list going forward. I'm too future thinking. No. I got to go, okay, how did they screw that up? Okay, let's not do it that way. All right, cool. You got to learn. And that's why I was just talking about my Pluto going through my eighth house and moving out of Capricorn into Aquarius. I have to be really mindful about contracts. Make sure that when I'm working with people that there's contracts that we both agree to, making sure that insurance is covered for our business, whether we have retreats on our property or campers here or things like that. We certainly want to create this community idea with the Aquarian Acres and have, you come over from Sweden and come and stay here for a few weeks and work with the land with us and all that. But we need to make sure that our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted and that we are covered. That's the eighth house energy specifically for me. So I don't get taken to court for something stupid or, like just dumb stuff that we didn't pay attention to. You really got to go underneath and make sure all of that stupid paperwork is done. The pain in the butt stuff.
Yeah.
That's the important stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I need to, this is a reminder for me. Make sure you take note of this, Laura. Yeah. So I think that's a big thing to look into for sure for us. And, baby's got something to say about that too.
Kicking?
A lot.
Yeah. So this is Laura's having a baby pretty much when this happens. Like, we're recording this now. Now it's the beginning of March, and this will come out just before Pluto goes into Aquarius, and soon you'll have a baby.
Yeah, we're due the 14th. I don't think little Bub's gonna stay in there until the 14th. So we're probably sometime early April, and I'm done. I'm so done. I hate these last 4 weeks. I really do.
Oh.
And I figured out the math this morning. I was like, what's 9 times 5 kids? Philip's like 45. I was like, that's almost 4 years of being pregnant.
Wow.
Ugh.
And you feel done. You look done. I see your face.
Done. I am done. Yesterday I woke up, my ribs were on fire because when I sleep on one side, then baby has room to stretch out and will kick my ribs like a lot and push them out. So my left side ribs felt like somebody had like grabbed them underneath and like yanked them out. It was so painful and so incredibly uncomfortable for a couple hours.
Yeah.
It felt like I had gotten into like a brawl and gotten like a broken rib. So I'm like, this is fun stuff. I sure enjoy this. I told Philip, I'm like, I can't wait till I can be like, here, you take it. Your turn.
Soon.
I know.
Couple of weeks and then you're done with that.
Yes. Yes. So I'm excited to go through this Aquarian change for sure with this Pluto and Aquarius baby. Pluto's only in Aquarius for a couple weeks. It's only like 6 to 8 weeks before it retrogrades back into Capricorn for the rest of the year. So I know we're talking a lot about this, and it's because we're going to get this flavor, right? We're going to get this really intense flavor. The way I want to picture it, or the way I picture it in my head, is like you go to, drink some water and you think you're drinking water, but it's like actually root beer or something. You're like, whoa, like that was not the flavor I was expecting. It's a sudden flavor shift. And then we're going to go back to what we were doing for about 6-7 months. And then in January 24, we shift there for good.
Yeah.
Which I think is good, that we get a little, like, you got to get to try on your new outfit.
Yeah.
Try on how this Pluto feels, and then
for sure. Like we will get that flavor of the rebellion and the humanitarian, and then Pluto go back into Capricorn and restructure what it wasn't finished restructuring before it leaves Capricorn for this time.
Yeah.
For a long time.
So it goes back into Capricorn in June. So June 12th, it happens for most of us. So that's not a very long time that it's in Aquarius, but I guarantee you, mark my words, we're going to feel it.
Yeah, for sure. And if you think that we should talk about Pluto in the different houses, let us know if you would be into that, and maybe we'll record one of those episodes.
Yeah.
Like what it would mean for you and your house placement.
I like that. Yeah. So then we'll be rocking that Pluto Capricorn energy for a good chunk of time until, this is interesting because it actually retrogrades back onto my husband's MC, and it stations direct. So that means it stops at that degree and then turns back around. Now, the planets don't actually stop moving. It's just the perspective from our planet and where we are. That's the energy. And so retrogrades are actually really interesting to look at. And YouTube has a lot of good videos that show you diagrams of how that works. I cannot verbally explain it, but if you're curious, go and look at like how a planet retrogrades. It doesn't actually move backwards. I like to explain it to my kids as, you ever look at a car that's driving down the road and the wheels are going so fast it looks like they're spinning backwards. Yeah. Like that's kind of the energy of how a retrograde works, or what that looks like. So Pluto will go back stationary on his MC. I'm so curious to see what shows up for him again.
Congratulations, Philip.
Right? I know. Like, yay, you. And that'll be September 21st. And then it goes back forwards again. So we'll go forward until January like 24th or something.
But I'm always excited by, like, because we've been talking about this before about Philip's MC and Pluto, and it is exciting. Like, I am excited because that it feels like then he will get a last chance to really break down the last bits that weren't working in his professional life.
Right. And he's not the only person that stuff like this happens to. If you have anything around the 27, 28, 29 degree Capricorn time frame, this will affect you like profoundly. This is like going back and forth. And some people look at it as a negative. I'm like, this is a gift that you got during this Earth school that not everybody gets to go through. It's like a helping hand of clearing out the trash, resetting your life, and then seeing if this system and structure works. Nope, it doesn't work. Okay, let's go back and do it again, right? Like, you get a couple chances to transform into the energy you're supposed to be living in. And that's the cool part, is like you get this universal support from the frequencies of the planets.
Yeah, but you have to do the work, and that is the hard part.
Yeah, sometimes it can feel rough when you need to do the work, but oh well. Do it anyway.
You'll get a big kiss from Pluto. And not everyone gets a big kiss from Pluto. No. We all get small kisses, but that's a big one.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember when I was first getting into astrology and I was learning about his chart, one of the very first things it said was, you live many lifetimes in one. And I was like, what does that mean? And then I looked at all of the Pluto transits he's had over his sun sign, over his Neptune, over his Mercury, over like every single personal planet. And I was like,
yeah,
oh, that's what that means.
Yeah. I had Pluto going over my MC very early in life. So I don't know what happened then. Yeah, I think I was about 10? 10? Yeah, that's another story. Yeah, I have no idea what happened. It would be interesting to go back and see how that affected how I deal with like the outside world.
That would be interesting because weren't you about 11 or 12 when your home burned?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
So that would definitely change the energy of how you would show up or what you would want to do. Like if you go through a profound experience like that, it shifts you, you know, like you were headed this way and then your house burned and whoops, now you're going that way, right? Because you ended up living with your grandparents, right?
I lived with my grandparents and one of my friends also for a long time.
So you were literally separated from your family and had to learn this new creative way of being. So that would be really interesting to go back.
I need to deep dive into that.
You do. Yeah. You really do, because that Sagittarius MC. Yeah. That would be cool. And that's the thing. It doesn't matter if you're young or not. It still is going to change you. It's going to change something. Yes. And it's that catalyst that's going to implode like the phoenix burning up, and then you get to rise again from the ashes. And yours happened to be right around a fire.
Yeah, Sagittarius, fire sign.
So interesting.
Yeah.
I love
I think we made a lot of sense, even though there's so many Pisces placements right now.
I think this came out somewhat fluidly. The fish were swimming in mostly the same direction.
Yeah. Well, both of our natal Mercury is in water sign. So maybe this is when we should be recording, only when Mercury is in a water sign.
We'll just do all of the episodes at once.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, that's probably all we should dive into today, so we don't get everybody falling asleep and bored. But not that they'd be bored with us, because
never.
Not. But thank you so much for listening and tuning in or watching us on YouTube or wherever you're finding us. But we would so appreciate if you would comment or share or like or give us a shout out, or if you want to be on the show, or if you have questions, reach out to us. Let us know. We are super happy to hear feedback. We've been getting some feedback and really enjoying it. And even if it's suggestions like, hey, do this different, we're open to that. Just be nice.
Just be nice. But yeah, it's really important actually give it, the ratings and the thumbs up and all of those things. It makes all the difference in like a tiny podcast thing that we're doing.
Yeah.
It really does.
It helps the little fish to get more noticed in the big pond under, the big, huge Joe Rogans and all of those big podcasts. It helps us to be recognized and seen. So we appreciate that. And, even sharing with just one friend you have that you're like, hey, these goofies people are fun to listen to. Tune into them. We're happy to have it.
Yeah. Cause we want to continue.
We do. We've got lots of, well, Helena's lovely, awesome amounts of Capricorn. So I appreciate that. Sure. But no, it's so much fun just to talk and share our wisdom and help others grow and expand into their own energies and find out what's going on with them. Because I can tell you, going through some tough Pluto stuff in our life and our marriage, it really does help tremendously to know the energies are there and that it will not last forever, and that it is a small time frame, and that this is what's supposed to be happening, right? Like you are supposed to be feeling this destruction or whatever it is, and that it's okay. And that has been so profoundly helpful for me personally. I know for my husband, just to know that energy is there and not take it so flippin' personally.
Yeah.
Just be okay with it.
It's not a personal vendetta.
No, No, not at all. Pluto's not out to get you, I promise. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we will be back next week with a new show, and who knows what we're talking about. We'll let you know. Thanks, everybody.
We'll figure it out. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.